Well, I'm very pleased to say we are joined by Caleb Silver now, the Chief Business Editor at People Inc. and Editor and Chief in Investopedia. Thank you so much. Your title is becoming longer.
Yeah,
it's becoming a mouthful.
Keep it short.
Your business card must be very big. We're talking about sort of the chip wars playing out. I mean, obviously, Nvidia v. Google. It seems like the market narrative is one of a sort of a changing of the guard, a shift in some of the leadership. But is it as simple as that? I mean, do we give credence to that? Or is it just the fact that there is a big enough pie to share around now?
Well, it's big enough and the market has expanded a lot. When you think about these two companies, think about these two different things. GPUs, that's Nvidia's territory, right? The graphic processing units. And then think about what they call TPUs. Those are the tensor processing units, also called the application-specific integrated units if you want to go way deep into the chips. And they're really producing two different things. Nvidia is producing for the enterprise, for cloud computing, for these big AI data centers, while Google is focused really on these applications. And Gemini is front and center in that. You can't really use a lot of those TPUs outside of the Google universe right now, but that is the universe that's growing. Those are cheaper, those are much more efficient than the big GPUs that Nvidia makes.
Right.
Google's TPUs are largely tied to its own cloud ecosystem. Does that limit their long-term growth potential in the space compared to Nvidia's broader GPU applications?
Yeah, for now, but don't expect that to remain the case forever. They wouldn't have gotten into this business if they were only producing for themselves. So imagine being able to take some of these TPUs or the application-specific units to other types of software and programs. A lot of it is designed to empower and improve Gemini. So think about the other ChatGPT or OpenAI applications or LLM applications that it could be useful for. It's very software oriented. Yeah, I have a feeling that it's going to be able to be more to help other products going forward to give it more market share.
Yeah, and obviously Google's been getting a lot of praise for Gemini. Was it Mark Benioff had some pretty interesting words that we won't repeat here. But I mean, you know, it's been why we've seen so much bullishness around this name. And obviously now we've got the Apple partnership. Just talk us through how you're thinking about this one as well. And I mean, particularly when you think of Apple, because I was speaking to Daniel Newman yesterday from Futurum, who said, you know, obviously it's a very good short-term move, but is it the long-term solution? I'm just wondering what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be partnered with the smartphone maker that has the largest market share, and that's Apple. Also Samsung worldwide, but here that's Apple, and if they're going to continue to develop Siri and make it more generative AI, make it smarter, and they want to use Google chips from that, I think it's a great deal for Google. That wasn't even in this business a few years ago. Just remember that. It's an advertising delivery mechanism. That is Google's main business, but it has expanded into the cloud, obviously, and obviously Gemini. Gemini now, by the way, 650 million monthly users. That was a very quick adoption.
And Caleb, you know, while we're talking about Google's AI products, you know, we've seen them come up and we're signing more of these deals and they're getting a lot more attention. We saw Alphabet become a $4 trillion market cap company. Is their growth in AI really more targeted at defending their core search business and their all important advertising business rather than actually making them a direct competitor to Nvidia's leadership?
Yeah, great question. But if you've listened closely to the earnings calls with Google and listened to the commentary from its leadership, search is not its business anymore. It's going to Google zero when it comes to that. It is in the business of Gemini and AI and empowering that ecosystem so that it becomes the dominant way we experience Alphabet and Google-related products. So the search business is dying. We're playing for Google zero across the publishing industry, and I think that's what Google's playing for as well. You can just tell by its staffing count in the search area. It's moved a lot of that staff to focus on AI and Gemini.
I want to take it to sort of 30,000 feet. I mean, we were having a fascinating conversation, and really the narrative in this market has been one of broadening out. I mean, some of the questions at the back end of 2025 around, you know, the valuation, the circularity of this financing, and that's sort of seen this shift into maybe the picks and shovels, maybe who might be the winners and losers here, who's building the infrastructure, who's making the material to go into the data centers, the cooling, etc., the energy needed to power all of it. I mean, you know, for some of these names that you and I have just been discussing as well as Marley, I mean, Nvidia, Google, Apple, I mean, does it start to get a little bit more demanding? I mean, we just had a guest on who was sort of saying we need these guys to pull the weight to get us to that 750 by the end of the year in the S&P 500. But I mean, given what we've seen as far as this sort of underperformance, you know, compared to some other names since October, Halloween, As I said, does it get a little bit more challenging from here, do you suspect?
Yeah, and the big stocks have to do the big pulling. That's what they're there for. They're the giants in the industry. That said, think about what's happened since October. The fact that a lot of these stocks fell off 10, 15, 20% in some cases. Look at an Oracle and other stocks like that. That was a pretty big correction for a lot of these stocks. Guess what? The stock market went on to make more record highs because it was a broadening out. There was a sector rotation. We saw financials finally starting to rally. We saw for the first time last week Dow theory confirmed, right? Dow Industrials and Dow Transports rallying at the same time. We should have had a little party down here with hats, get Peter Tuchman involved, because that's what you want to see as a long-term investor. Broadening out, you want to see bench points, you want to see double-digit scoring from all your players, and the fact that the market was making record highs without these stocks, that's very good news for investors.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Caleb, it's always a pleasure to have you on the set. Thank you so much for popping by.
Thank you.
All right, Caleb Silver there, who wears many, many hats. So one of those is Investopedia. Marley, I'll send things back over to you in Chicago.